The John Lebang Show has been known to make people laugh, sing, think, scream, throw things in rage, and generally lose their minds. Listener discretion is advised.
Scheduled programming to bring you a show on the edge. Broadcasting worldwide and out to the greater universe, you're listening to the John Lebang Show.
Greetings, Earthlings. I'm your host, John Lebang. Thank you for joining me for yet another hour of this broadcast. Big election week. We had all kinds of things happen that we'll probably discuss at some point here. I don't know if I'm really into it. You know, there comes a time when we're just overwhelmed with all this bull crap that the world thrusts upon us. And I'm pretty sick of it. And, you know, for the most part, I'm tired of it. As you can hear, I'm still dealing with my little illness problem that we're getting a little bit better here. Enough to do shows. Not enough to go out and have any fun, but we can do a show here and we can talk until our voice runs out, which I would imagine isn't going to be very long. So, I'm sure everybody wants my analysis of the election. And I could have predicted what happened. I mean, I think if my numbers are correct, it only happened 3 times in history where the incumbent president kept his party in power in the first midterm elections. So it was pretty inevitable that the Republicans were going to lose seats. I'm astonished at how many Democrats were victorious, because we just got rid of the Democrats, and you would think the American people would have learned something from at least the past decade. But even if their memory doesn't serve them that long, what was more recent in the past 2.5 years should have been a nice reminder to them when they went to the polls that the Democrats are only here to divide and conquer, but whatever. The American people thought it was in their best interest to put Democrats in office to replace the Republicans that they weren't happy with. Except they put those Republicans in place because they didn't like the Democrats. So again, the American people are bouncing between the two parties, still never learning a damn thing. All these years that these two parties have bounced back and forth between political offices, between controlling the direction of the country, and where the country has been in the past, I mean, just 30 years alone, folks. The American people decided to keep the insanity going because they can't see beyond the two parties, the two wings of the same system. So what if it flies a little right? So what if it flies a little left? We're better off if it flies a little right at this point, because the Republicans are a bunch of linguini-spined individuals. The Democrats, they force things upon you, whether you want it or not. And they don't care about their opposition. The Republicans may not like their opposition, but they at least appear to care about people a little bit more. They're not the party of do things at all costs. If that was the case, so many more things would have been accomplished in the first 2 years of Donald Trump's presidency. And I'm not talking about the executive order stuff. I'm talking legislatively. Here you had a president that would have signed practically anything you would have sent to him. And they chose to get hardly anything done. Which makes me wonder why the Democrats were so upset in the first place. And their followers were so upset. All these past 2 years. Because nothing really was majorly accomplished. You got a tax bill. Didn't really do much, though. We pulled out of a climate change accord that we're heading right back there to have a stupid little summit again. So really, all the outrage over the past few years has been a manufactured outrage because there's been really not a whole lot to be mad about when you're talking about what the Republicans have done. And I've already pointed out that President Trump has accomplished a hell of a lot of his campaign promises. Now, I understand that doesn't make the diehard Democrats exuberant or excited that those things are happening because it's not their person doing it. Of course, if President Obama would have moved the embassy to Jerusalem, if President Obama would have pulled out of the climate change accords, if President Obama would have formed a new NAFTA-type trade deal, made new deals with Mexico and Canada, then the fan base of the Democrats and all the Democrat politicians, even if it were the same policies, mind you, the Democrats would be cheering their guy. See, they get mad when they don't get to do it, is the real problem. When they don't get to get credit for anything. And they don't like it when their opposition gets credit. Though, when we look at it, the agendas are hardly anything different. You have a couple subjects that are on the surface that they split us up over between the two parties, but overall the agenda continues. It's been an actual change to have a guy like Donald Trump in office who's gone against the grain and who's got things done that no other politicians, at least presidents, have been able to do in the past, since Reagan at least, folks. Nobody. Clinton, Bush, Obama, nobody would have talks with North Korea. Trump pulled that off. Now, you may not like that fact, but he pulled it off. And on the surface, it looks like he's attempting to do something so that there can be some peace there, instead of just being adversarial, as the last three presidents have been with North Korea. Trump's not trying to pick a fight with Russia, although that doesn't jive with the Democrat Party. Isn't it funny how far the Democrats have changed just on the surface, ladies and gentlemen, how they've somewhat switched sides? You see, back when Bush was in office, they were against a lot of things going to Iraq and all that. Remember, they were the peace people. And the Republicans were the warmongers. Do you remember all the audio clips the mainstream media would play to prove their point that the Republicans were these warmongers? The neocons, you remember that whole trick they were promoting back in the day. Now it's the Democrats who want to go to war, but not with Iraq, a country run by a third world despot. No. They're trying to pick a fight with Russia. Of all countries. Debatably the second or third most powerful country on the planet, militarily. It's not going to be a walk in the woods if we ever have to get into a conflict with Russia. It's not going to be like shock and awe like we had in Iraq. It's not going to be like how Libya went down. Look what happened in Syria. We can't even get that done. We still haven't achieved any kind of real peace in Afghanistan. which you're never going to have in a third world. That might be a fourth world country. I know we're not allowed to speak that way because that's offensive to some people, that we can't point out the fact that there's some countries out there that are so backwards, so far behind the rest of the world, that they can't even be considered in the future of the world as far as dictating which way it's going, because they can't even catch up to us here in the West. So if they can't catch up, they shouldn't have a say in the direction of the world. That's the problem with the immigration issue, is that we're talking about a caravan of people coming from a third world nation carrying flags from the countries they are supposedly leaving from. They're fleeing from these countries, yet they're carrying the flag of those countries, which means they're not going to want to assimilate. And why these people who are fleeing, trying to come to the United States illegally, and I can't believe we have Americans who think that's okay, but these people trying to break into the country carrying a foreign flag, why these people, instead of traveling the thousands and thousands and thousands of miles, dangerous, they're dragging their kids across all this vast expanse of wilderness and through cities. All this danger to come to America, but they won't fight for their freedom in their own country. What kind of people do you want to accept to this great nation, or this once great nation? Because I don't know if America is even worth saving anymore. I've had some real soul searching this week, folks. Of course, I've been sick, so I've had some downtime and I've had time to think. A lot of times I start with questions, and one of the questions that came to mind this week is America even worth saving any longer? Notice I didn't say the Constitution, I said America. Is it even worth saving? Because my feelings for this country have begun to, or at least my feelings for the people of this country have begun to ebb. I have no faith in the American people anymore. If they're going to just go back to this group that you just replaced, you just removed them from office because they were awful, and you decided, well, we're going to go back to them now because you're too apathetic to even look into these other people who we could really have a wider range of viewpoints in the government if you would elect people from third parties. But for some reason, if they have a D next to their name or if they have an R next to their name, they're elevated. And I don't know what's wrong with the American people to think that continually going back and forth between these two parties is a sane thing to do. If you are unhappy with the direction of this country, then you cannot put your faith in the two parties that have brought us to this point. Yet most people are either too apathetic or too lazy to either go and read about these other people. I mean, I do the work for you. I don't even know why I do this anymore. Why do I do this? Trying to help the American people with information. I do all the work. And what does it give me? You think this is a fun job? You think this is a lot of glory behind this job? You should see some of the emails I get. I don't get paid for this crap. Yet I put in the time. Not for some kind of personal benefit. I get nothing out of this. What do I get out of this, ladies and gentlemen? I'm a one-man show. I don't have somebody to mix for me. I don't have somebody to produce or to edit. No, there are no big major financiers of the show. These are the things I've been thinking about all week. Like, I work so hard to help Because I don't do this for my benefit. I get nothing out of the deal. I share information to try to save this damn country. And I realize most of that work has been for naught. Because people take that information and they do whatever they want with it. Most of the time they flush it right down the toilet. Goes in one ear, out the other. You wonder why they even take the time to listen to the show. It's like if you're not going to glean anything from it, go watch The Walking Dead. Go watch some mindless other broadcast. Go listen to something else that doesn't make you think. I mean, we try to have a little fun here, but there's a purpose to all these broadcasts. I'm not doing this for my pleasure. I don't get, where's the money? Most of the people who listen don't even buy a damn coffee mug to give to somebody for Christmas, to help out the show, to show support for the show. So you wonder if it's all worth it, me sitting here even discussing the important things in life. I could be like all the other freaking radio hosts out there. You know, the ones that even copy the best parts of my bit here. You know, the fat guy from Florida, or the guy who retired but didn't retire. I should just do all my best bits. Screw giving people information. Screw doing the study and just do it for myself. Make up my decisions. And if it's not going to affect any kind of change in real change in the country, because if you don't like the Republicans and you vote in the Democrats, you don't even know what change is, because you just put in the same thing you got rid of just the last time around. Anyways, we got to take a quick break, folks. One of those nights, ain't it? Hey, Uncle Shady, where are they going? Hey, you, get back here. The John Lebang Show will be right back.
Check out the new book from Derek Shelmerdine,
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
It tells the story of rock and roll from its roots right up until the mid-'70s punk.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Not just the music, but also the events that shaped the music.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
It includes the backgrounds to recording sessions, singles, album releases, births and deaths, epic concerts, and festivals.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Shelmerdine has made a painstaking effort to document pretty much every event that would prove significant in shaping popular music.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Purchase the book at www.rockandrollunraveled.com. Follow him at Twitter at R&R Unraveled, and look him up on Facebook at Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
By author Derek Shelmerdine.
Available now.
Hey man, you're listening to the John Lebang Show, man.
The place where chronic brain cell rejuvenation happens.
Feel like you're getting any smarter yet?
Yeah. You know what boggles my mind? Why doesn't the American people get it? What is so hard to understand that the two-party system is just one system that keeps you trapped and only divides you? I mean, this is supposed to be the United States, but we don't have that. We've long since had a united country. The last time may have been during 9/11. That's when we were united after somebody had whacked us really hard, got us into a war. We were so united. Yet ever since then, we've created our own tragedies. We've listened to a mainstream manufactured news that will report one president one way and another president a completely different way. Did you see the Acosta thing? The news conference the day after the election with President Trump? That was appalling.
Challenge you on one of the statements that you made in the tail end of the campaign in the midterms. That
here we go.
If you don't mind, Mr. President, that this caravan was an invasion. As you know, Mr. President,
I consider it to be an invasion.
As you know, Mr. President, the caravan was not an invasion. It's a group of migrants moving up from Central America towards the border with the U.S.
Thank you for telling me that.
Why did you characterize it as such?
Because I consider it an invasion. You and I have a difference of opinion.
But do you think that you demonized immigrants in this election to try to keep them?
I want them to come into the country, but they have to come in legally. You know, they have to come in, Jim, through a process. I want it to be a process, and I want people to come in, and we need the people.
Your campaign.
Wait. You know why we need the people, don't you? Because we have hundreds of companies moving in. We need the people.
But your campaign had an ad showing migrants climbing over walls and so on.
That's true. But they weren't actors.
They're not going to be doing that.
They weren't actors. Well, no, it's true. Do you think they were actors? They weren't actors. They didn't come from Hollywood. Right. These were people. This was an actual. You know, it happened a few days ago. And
they're hundreds of miles away, though. They're hundreds and hundreds of miles away. That's not an invasion.
Honestly, I think you should let me run the country. You run CNN.
All right.
And if you did it well, your ratings would be much better.
If I may ask one other question, Mr. President, if I may ask one other question, are you worried?
That's enough. That's enough.
Mr. President, I was going to ask one of the other folks.
That's enough.
Pardon me, ma'am. Mr. President,
that's enough.
Mr. President, I had one other question, if I may ask, on the Russia investigation. Are you concerned that you may have?
I'm not concerned about anything with the Russian investigation because it's a hoax. That's enough. Put down the mic.
Mr. President, are you worried about indictments coming down in this investigation?
Mr. President.
I'll tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them. You are a rude, terrible person. You shouldn't be working for CNN. Go ahead.
I think that's unfair.
You're a very rude person. The way you treat Sarah Huckabee is horrible. And the way you treat other people are horrible.
And I'm so glad President Trump told that guy off. Even though at this point, I have no faith in any of these politicians. I have no faith in Trump in getting anything done, especially since the American people still play the two-party game. It was just a few years ago the Democrats weren't good enough. So we replaced them with the Republicans. And I thought to myself, maybe these people are going to get it. Maybe these people are going to get it because they elected Donald Trump, an apparent outsider. But the very next election, you get rid of those people you put in, and you put in the party you just got rid of. Because that's going to work, right, America? Why don't you get it? And the reason the country's falling apart is because you play these games. You go into an election without a plan. Your plan is, I'm going to vote out all these people. Or I'm going to vote for all these people. That's not a plan. You want balance in the government? You need to remove the two parties that have held power for so long. If you think the country is going in the wrong direction, it's because of the two parties. And if you sit home and do nothing about it, you're of no consequence to the equation anyways. But what's worse is the people who continually go between. You can only be Democrat or you can only be Republican. And you don't have a plan on how your country should be. But your enemy does. The two parties do. Especially the dirty, divisive Democrats. They have a plan. It's an awful plan. It's a division plan. It's a destructive plan. It's a plan that pins this group against that group. They take the individual, they destroy them, then they segregate that person into a group. Then they come to you after they've done all this to you, and they say, well, they're going to help you. Just join the party. If you join the party, if your little group joins our party, we'll support your cause. But they destroyed the cause of your individualism to do that. They went after the strongest, most powerful thing you had, being an individual, and they ripped it away. Then they called you a victim and placed you into that subgroup. You are now a subhuman to the Democrats. You're not an individual who's in control of your life, who nobody tells you what to do. You have your own direction. No, you are no longer the individual. You are now a victim, a person who can't do anything to save themselves from the wickedness of those people over there. And that subgroup over there is your enemy, because you're in this subgroup. And you've got to do everything you can to beat that subgroup over there, to have dominance over them. Because if you don't have dominance over them, they're going to have dominance over you. Of course, as an individual, no one would have dominance over you. But because people have been destroyed and allowed themselves to be in these subgroups, now you're at the will of that subgroup, and you have enemies that subgroup has. Isn't that interesting, folks? As an individual, why would you have enemies? Who would you hate if you trusted everybody as an individual? Who would you hate? The individual that had extreme bad behavior, right? That's who you would hate. If you could look past all the little sub differences that we have and focus on our commonalities, and you just looked at the person as an individual, you didn't subgroup them into woman, black, white, purple, gay, straight. If you didn't do that, and you judge the person by their character and their behavior, we wouldn't have all the conflicts between these subgroups now, would we? But the Democrats, who highlight every one of these subgroups, they can't have individuals. They can't have people who think for themselves, who are self-reliant and responsible. Because that takes away all the power of that party. Why the Republicans hold anybody, I just don't know. I think it's the people who want something different and who cannot adhere or believe in what the Democrats are doing. So they automatically just go to the Republicans because they think that's all that there is. And then we fall into this left-right thing. And here in America, because people don't know history, it's unfortunate, but they don't know history. Here in America, they think that the right wing is the same kind of right wing that was in Nazi Germany. So they call the Republicans Nazis, right? We've heard that many times. The Republicans are Nazis, racist, rah, 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 rah. Except I rarely hear the Republicans ever bring up race in any debate unless they're being forced to talk about it. The right-left paradigm that exists here in the United States in 2018 is not the same left-right paradigm that was in Germany in the 1930s. In the 1930s, we had the difference between the communists and the socialists. The socialists were on the right of the communists, so they were the right-wingers of their time in Germany in 1930. The communists were the left-wingers. That's because Germany had, as a whole, swung so far left that the socialists, the Democratic Socialists, the National Socialist Party, which is the group called Nazis, the group run by Adolf Hitler. You remember those people. They were on the right in 1930s Germany. The Nazis were National Socialists. That's what Hitler was. He was a socialist. Here in 2018, in the United States, we have the socialists, which are the Bernie Sanders types. Those people are on the left because America hasn't scooted as far left as 1930s Germany. So the Democrats are on the left here, and the Democrats, for the most part, are socialists, and unfortunately, they have communists as well. The Republicans, they're not quite socialists. They're no longer actual Republicans because now America's gone too far left to actually have a Republican. And that is the form of government we're supposed to have according to the Constitution. Yet over time, we have become a democracy, leading us closer and closer and closer to socialism. Eventually, we'll become full-blown socialist, and then the socialists will be in the Republican Party because the Democrats will have taken the party so far left that most of them will be straight-up communists. And then, 20, 30 years down the road, maybe sooner, it's hard to predict these things, then we'll be a lot closer to 1930s Germany. 20 or maybe 15 years would put us at the 2030s. So maybe it took 100 years to push the country that far left. And the best thing about it is America saved the world from democratic socialism in World War II and imperialism. And now you look at the country under the rule of the Democrats and the Republicans. Since then, we're moving a lot closer to a democratic socialist country. And we've already seen the imperialistic side of our country with the invasions of multiple countries and the toppling of governments since 9/11. So the thing we fought against, the thing we saved the world, or our forefathers, the greatest generation. See, we don't have a great generation right now, unfortunately. We have the baby boomers, which are about the most selfish generation there is. We have the Generation Xers, my generations, which is the smallest generation and probably the most forgotten. We're never talked about. When you hear about the different generations, you hear about the centennials, you'll hear about the baby boomers. I mean, we can't even get over ourselves with the baby boomers. And then we hear about the millennials. But how often do you hear about Generation X? But we're on another subject now. That's for a later date. So here, our ancestors, the greatest generation, saved us and the world from democratic socialism in World War II and imperialism. And where has this country been headed ever since? Do you think it might have had something to do with allowing these scientists from these different countries to come in through Operation Paperclip and they infiltrated the government? Don't forget that it was Khrushchev himself on October 12th or 13th of 1960 at the United Nations when he was banging his shoe on the desk saying he was going to destroy, or Russia was going to destroy the West from within. Some loose translations say, "We will bury you." You've got to wonder, with the direction of the country under the two-party system. Remember when McCarthy was thought as a kook, and then all these years later came out that he was right, that there were a bunch of communists infiltrating the government? Gone further than the government, I would think. Folks, we're going to take a quick break. Be right back.
Don't move a muscle.
John Lebang Show, right back.
With lots of fun and excitement. Yes! Pane in the Glass, commercial and residential window cleaning for a beautiful sparkling shine that's crystal clear. Call Pane in the Glass Window Cleaning. You can find them on Facebook at Pane in the Glass.
Hey, man, it's at the bottom of the hour, man. Do you know where your kids are, man?
If you want to contact the John Lebang Show, feel free to send an email to jlebang@live.com. And if you're on Twitter, look him up at John Lebang. And don't forget to go to his Facebook page at The John Lebang Show. Banger. Now here's John.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're hanging in there with me. My voice is still not up to par, and I'm doing my best to hang in there. Guess I'm going to finally get to this troll issue. I don't know if I should call him a troll, but when you repeatedly reply to posts on social media, so being in the radio business, you're forced into taking friend requests on these social medias by colleagues and, people that are also affiliated with stations that you're a part of. And sometimes they are a different political belief, and sometimes they're of the belief of whatever the mainstream media gives them. They'll regurgitate it because that's how intelligent most of or some of these people are. This is for you, Tom. I hope you're listening. I know you don't listen to the show. If you would have listened to the show, you would have either sent me off a hate-filled email about something I said in a prior episode, or you might actually break some of that conditioning that you've endured throughout your life. But if you are just happening to listen, welcome to the show. Thanks for taking the time out. I don't know if you're going to like everything I have to say at this point, but bro, you're a full-blown racist, man. And I want to thank you for proving my points. Where I'm going with this, ladies and gentlemen, is I made a post the day of the election. It might have been the night before. I don't exactly remember. Doesn't matter. Pointing out that if the American people were going to shift back to the Democrats, that they were only going to endure more divide and destruction because it was going to embolden the people who follow that democratic religion there to do even more damage and to cause even more divisive actions, because that's what they would have believed had caused the shift back into their favor in the House of Representatives, that is. They don't know the history of that only 3 times in the history of the country has the president's party retained the House in the midterm elections. So it was inevitable, because the American people only understand the two-party system. A third party might throw off the American people, and that's really bothering me. You come to a point where you start realizing maybe these people will never learn. And that's a sad commentary on the state of the American people. So to get back to Sir Tom here, I'm not going to give you his full name. He's a radio DJ, some sort. I think he has a music program. I don't believe it's political. He might add some political commentary in there. I wouldn't doubt it. His Facebook page is loaded with it. So he begins to comment on my post. I believe he was the first. Actually, one of my longtime friends commented first that she was using my show as last-minute election prep. That actually was really nice. I felt good about that. I was like, wow, okay. So I got through to somebody. Somebody is at least taking the time to go, John Lebang, you're credible enough. I'm going to check out your stuff to fine-tune my election decisions here. So that was one of the heartening things about the everything that happened on Tuesday. But based on everything, this Tom guy, he came at me with racism, genderism, all these isms, none of which were injected by me or anybody else. So it was this Tom fellow who, since that's how he thinks, he sees the whole world in either color, sex, or gender. I mean, that's a sad way to look at the world. Because you're not basing it on individuals at all. All you see are groups of people. This group of people and this group. You segregate everybody. And I thought in 2018 we were past segregation. I thought in 2018 we were past looking at a person's skin, but apparently not. I'm not going to regurgitate his words here. I've left it up on my Facebook page for the whole world to see what a true Democrat thinks of people. Because this guy, Tom, and I think he'll agree with this. I don't think he'll say I'm lying at all. He is as hard of a Democrat as there is. He is the poster boy for Democratism. And I think he would take that as a compliment. But here's the problem. The Democrat Party bases everything on your color, like they always have, back when the day when their people were putting together the Ku Klux Klan, and probably far beyond that, when people like me were coming down from the north to fight the Southern Democrats who had all those slaves in the South. This is what the Democrat Party has always been. It's been about the segregation of not only people of color, but sex, gender, whatever they can find to divide people up into, they will do that. And they keep finding new ways of doing it. It's amazing, but they do. You got to give them credit for that. But this is why the Democrats are bad for the country. Because they only see things with color and gender and any other thing that divides us. They do not look to unify anybody. Oh, they will say that they have all these little subgroups that they created and they've joined them together. And I thought this country was based on the individual. In fact, we are a nation of individuals, not little pockets of tribal groups as the Democrats love to segregate us in. We'll never be the United States, we'll never be a united country as long as the Democrats have power because they emphasize our differences. But an individual doesn't have enemies. An individual believes in freedom for themselves as much as they believe in freedom for someone else, and they don't care if the person's gay. They don't care if the person wears pantyhose in the middle of the night on their forehead wrapped in tape. They don't care about that. They care about the character of the person and how they behave in public. How they treat other people, in other words. How they mind their own business. So let's be clear here. This Tom fella, who's a diehard Democrat, right along the party lines, he could be the poster child for them. He has made it very clear that it is okay to be a racist if you're a Democrat, but not anything else. You can't be a racist if you're a Republican. You can't be a racist if you're an individual. But if you're a Democrat, then it's okay to be a racist. And like I said, folks, I'm not going to regurgitate that stuff here on the radio. To me, it was very obscene. I've left it up for you to go to. My page is available to the public on Facebook. Look me up, John Lebang, and you can go read this person's post. Now, this Tom fellow made it very clear,
And because I'm holding him up as the poster boy for the Democrat Party, we're going to use him as the basic example of how they think. Tom made it very clear that he despises the straight, low melanin count male. And the more successful or conservative or Christian they are, the more he hates them. He spews all the worthless babble that you can get on any of the mainstream outlets that I point out daily and weekly here on the John Lebang Show. All the mindless dribble that they brain feed you, the public, the ones that listen to them. I'm speaking of the mainstream talking point media and the people that regurgitate all that garbage. They can't think for themselves. They couldn't even find a document to prove or disprove anything without the mainstream media giving them the talking points and the direction to do it. To put it plain and simple, the Republicans, linguini spined. I understand bad taste the Republicans can leave in people's mouths. But the Democrats, their whole thing, everything they're about is to divide people. On one hand, they will take an individual, destroy them, and tear them down. Then they'll segregate these people and divide them into subgroups, turning them all into victims. Then they'll swoop in with the other hand and say they'll support these people. They'll help them out. They'll champion their causes. And then act as if they are the ones taking the higher ground. And then they send their mind-numb masses out there to regurgitate. And Tom, you and your repeated attempts to filibuster my page, you've acknowledged my original statement is correct. You didn't even argue that. All you could do is throw mud at the Republicans. Deflect. My guys aren't bad. Look at those awful Republicans, the linguini-spined Republicans who don't have the spine to be what you say they are. It is just awful. We can forget about this country ever saving itself from the grips of the elite. Corruption will continue and only get worse. The constant barrage of paid protesters will drive the wedge deeper. I've come to the conclusion that the American people want to remain ignorant. They don't want to understand. And it's unfortunate because if you don't like the Republicans, the last thing you want to do is replace them with Democrats. That will only divide the country further. I don't even know why I talk about this stuff. You know, I feel a need to save my country because, to be honest, folks, I don't have a whole lot. I have my country. And if I can't save my country, then what is it? I might as well move to some third world nation where I can be rich. Sell all my stuff and just go be rich and retire somewhere in some third world nation. And trust me, I've pondered that this week. What is the point of working so hard for a bunch of people who don't understand that they're creating their own problems? And the only way to stop creating these problems is to not follow the same exact course you've always been following. The Democrats are never going to make this country a better place. The Republicans don't have the spine to do it either. See, that's the biggest difference between the Republicans and the Democrats. The Republicans do not have the spine to get anything done. The Democrats will force it on you. You don't believe me? Then why did they put a mandate in Obamacare? A person who couldn't afford the privilege of having health insurance had to pay a fine. And if anybody thinks that's okay, they're full of crap. You can feel free to call me, and we can talk about it on the air. Killing my voice, huh? I don't want to talk about this stuff anymore, folks. I really don't. I'm sick of it. Obviously, all the work I've put in has gone for naught. And I don't know which direction this show's going to go into the future.
We may talk about it in the fourth segment. What's been going through my mind this week, how we're going to proceed with the show. Because I'm tired of doing things for people and getting nothing in return. And I didn't ask for much, America. I didn't ask for much. I asked you to wake up a little bit and see that you can't fix the country by electing the same damn people all the time. You can't fix it. And if the country keeps getting worse, then it's on you, America. It's on you for not doing the right thing and doing the easy thing. We're going to take a quick break, folks. I'll be back for the fourth segment right after this.
Smoke 'em if you got 'em.
Because the John Lebang Show will be right back.
After this. That's guaranteed. Yes. Quality One Painting. For interior and exterior painting needs, call Tom at Quality One, 313-982-2986. Tom will give you free estimates, senior discounts, and I can tell you from meeting the gentleman, he's one of the nicest guys on the face of the planet. So for a quality paint job with a professional attitude, call Tom at Quality One Painting. That's 313-982-2986. 313-982-2986. Quality One Painting. You're listening to the John Lebang Show.
It's what's cool on radio.
Would like to point your attention to the John Lebang Show Facebook page, where we are conducting a bunch of polls on who the best frontmen in all of rock history are. There are a whole bunch of polls there that we would like you to participate in and vote. Give us your opinion. And on November 25th and the week of that, Derek Shelvernine will be joining me, and we will be going over the top frontmen as voted on by you, the listener of the John Lebang Show, and the people who visit our Facebook page. So please go to that Facebook page, facebook.com/John Lebang Show, the John Lebang Show. Don't forget the. We are in the first round. We started off with 32, what we would consider frontmen. And those frontmen were decided on by Derek and myself. And now we've left it up to you, the listener, to participate in. And it's been a lot of fun already. And if you haven't liked our Facebook page, please go over there and like the page. Also like to direct you to the website for the upcoming schedule. Don't forget that we're nearing our Christmas holiday schedule. That'll begin at the beginning of December, and it'll carry on right through the end of the month. We are feverishly working on a new adventure for our characters, and I'm not sure we'll be done. We don't have an actual release date for that. We were hoping to have it done during the Christmas holiday. Then we got sick, and with my father dying, that kind of pushed back a lot of the script writing, but we have just finished some recording with our good friend Paul Farah. He's got a little cameo spot in the special. We're hoping to have that all put together so we can broadcast that to you. Now with that out of the way, I'd like to talk about the future of the John Lebang Show. We've had to walk away from a few stations in the past weeks because honestly, they weren't really putting in the time or effort into their own station, let alone the John Lebang Show. And if you're not growing, you're not even trying to improve your station or tell people about what's happening on your station, we see no need to be a part of it. So we're going to direct you again to the website to check out the new schedule. We took some stations off. We also brought in a couple other stations, including 24.7 The Stream in Chicago. They're back. They were on a little hiatus, but they asked us back on their station, and we were happy to join back up with them. With us making plans for the future, we want to make sure we have the strongest set of affiliate stations under our belt that are not only going to build their stations, but support the shows that are on their stations. And far too many of those affiliates in the past have decided that they're only going to promote one or two shows on their network and ignore the rest of them, even though we are pretty dedicated, and many other shows are really dedicated at sending in their broadcasts. So we decided that we're going to take a good hard look at all of our affiliate stations, see who really is working to improve themselves as well as our show here, because it's a joint venture. We send all these stations, all of our affiliates, broadcast each and every week. I was sick as heck, and they still received new broadcasts last week. I could have took this week off because I'm not 100%, but we're dedicated here, and there are a lot of other shows that are dedicated to providing content to these affiliate stations. And when we began the journey into syndication, we expected the stations to participate in growing not only their stations, because we promote these stations. Each and every week we'll have advertisements that promote this station, and that's every station that we're on gets some sort of promotion. And there are many stations that do not return the favor. So it's a one-sided relationship, especially when they're getting content. So we decided to take a hard look at all the stations that we're affiliated with. There are enough stations out there that are smart enough to know that it's the talent, the people who bring in the content, that are the ones that are going to grow your station. And all you as an owner have to do is promote them all, put some time into your station, and you'll be able to grow your station if it's any good. And if you're carrying quality shows like the John Lebang Show, like the Paul Farrow Show, like the Kevin Holly Show, and many, many, many others, there's a lot of great shows out there. If you carry that content and then promote it, and don't just sit there and promote on your own Facebook page and expect new people to show up. You have to go out there and make your station known to the world. Not telling you to be a huckster, but I'm telling you to go out there and actually put time into getting new listeners. We'll see if the stations do that. But come the new year, there's going to be some more changes heading your way from the John Lebang Show. We're considering the fate of the Banger Music Hour because we're not getting the support out of the bands. We're getting listenership, but these bands who get their songs played each and every week, outside of a handful of 2 or 3, most of them are too good to tell people that their song is being played multiple weeks for a radio show. They can't even like your post a lot of times. They can't share it a lot of times. So I've seen music shows just turn off their airways just in the past month because there's no support from you bands. And you independent artists out there better get off your butts, because the shows that are playing your tunes are not going to do it forever if you guys aren't returning the favor by telling your fans that this show is cool or that show is awesome for playing your music. And I think it's fair game to say, if you're not supporting the show, then is there a reason to even have the show? Now, all you're going to do is hurt the people that like listening to the music that is broadcast on all these shows, and you're going to hurt yourself, because we're the people that are sending listeners your way. We're helping you get fans, because you sitting in your basement playing on your Facebook is not going to get you listeners from all around the world. So we're considering the fate of that hour, as well as what we're going to do with the rest of the broadcast. We have a lot of great ideas coming into this new year, but we got to get on out of here. So I'm going to let you guys digest all this. We'll be back for the second hour. Stay tuned. Thank you for listening. I want to say thank you to all of our affiliate stations carrying the John Lebang Show. Don't forget to go to the website, www.jlebang.com. And until the vibrations of my vocal cords reach your ears again, I'm John Lebang, signing off for now from the Banger Studios. See you next hour.
1. We have liftoff. Tune in again next week. Same time, same space, same station.
Resistance